Hey Hammers fans, before we get started, make sure to drop a like, leave your comment, and subscribe to the channel. That way you won't miss any West Ham news. West Ham supporter, the situation has reached an unsustainable point. The club is perhaps experiencing one of the most delicate moments in its recent history, and the name at the center of this storm is David Sullivan. The pressure on him is enormous, and now even the PSG owners from Qatar have entered the scene with the possibility of investing in English football. What will happen to our West Ham? The fans can't take it anymore. After a public vote of no confidence at the Supporters' Council, thousands took to the streets and demonstrated even before the match against Crystal Palace. And it doesn't stop there. There is an organized movement to continue this pressure with protests, threats of a boycott at the game, against Brentford occupation of stands after the clash with Newcastle, as well as plans for even bigger demonstrations, indecisive matches, and even black balloons at away games. It is a true popular uprising against Sullivan, against Karen Brady, and against the entire leadership that runs the club. This is not the first time the owners have faced protests, but this time the atmosphere is completely different. The feeling is one of total rupture, a point of no return. The relationship between the supporters and the board has deteriorated to such an extent that fans no longer believe in promises. What is being demanded at the very least is that Sullivan and Brady step aside and allow specialized professionals to run the football side. Whether through new investors coming in, the Gold family selling their shares, or even a complete sale of the club, the fans will not rest until they see concrete change. On the pitch, the results only fuel this crisis. Right at the start of the season, a 3-0 defeat to Sunderland made it clear that the road ahead would be turbulent. And what looked like just a stumble was soon confirmed. West Ham lost 5 of their first 6 matches and are already facing the specter of relegation head-on with a squad that does not seem prepared for this kind of battle. It is a frightening scenario, and the distrust only grows. As if that weren't enough, the off-field situation has taken on even more problematic contours. Sullivan's fiancée Ampika Pixton became embroiled in public arguments with fans on social media right after the defeat to Palace. It was the kind of episode that turned into a joke in English. Football with supporters of other clubs mocking and saying only at West Ham does something like this happen. It sums up the feeling that the club, instead of being respected, is becoming a laughingstock. And the financial issue only worsens the picture. The club is expected to post losses of around £100 million in the December accounts. This puts the current management in an even more fragile position, as such a huge deficit cannot be ignored. Since the move to the Olympic Stadium in 2016, there have been rumors that West Ham could become a target for foreign investors. However, the current owners have always turned potential buyers away with valuations considered absurd. In 2020, Karen Brady's own personal website valued the club at £800 million, despite not owning the stadium and having a training ground the fans themselves mock as a joke. Unsurprisingly, this drove away possible buyers. Now the scenario may be different. The PSG owners, through Qatar Sports Investments, are looking at the Premier League. They already attempted to get into West Ham in 2023, but their offer was rejected. The problem is that their interest is not restricted to us. There are strong rumors that Bristol City, who play in the Championship, could also receive this investment. In other words, if Sullivan continues to hold on to the keys of the club, we could lose a historic chance to attract Middle Eastern billionaire capital capable of completely transforming West Ham's reality. This would not be the first time a negotiation of this scale has emerged. Back in 2016, Sullivan said he had turned down a £650 million offer from Red Bull. At the time, he declared he would only sell to someone capable of taking West Ham to a level the current owners could never achieve. He even joked that he would sell only to the King of Saudi Arabia. Today, what once seemed like a throwaway line is resurfacing, because Qatar's interest is real, and Sullivan must decide whether to keep resisting or finally open the door to something bigger. And the story with Qatar didn't start now. Since the move to the Olympic Stadium back in 2016, there have been rumors that Middle Eastern investors were buying land and property around the area. Many believed this was part of a long-term plan, preparing the ground for a future takeover of West Ham. The Daily Mail even reported that Qatar's investment fund, which already owned the Olympic Village, had its eyes on the club. And it wasn't just West Ham on the radar, even Tottenham was speculated as a possible target. This interest has gained strength again recently. The British press revealed that Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani, linked to Qatar had West Ham and Tottenham as alternatives if his attempt to buy Manchester United fell through, and it did. The BBC itself reported that if the Red Devils deal failed, the Qataris would look for another Premier League club. And guess what? West Ham's name came back into the picture. Now, with Qatar sports investments directly tied to PSG and led by Nasser Al-Khelaifi, the rumors have grown once more. There was even talk that they were interested in buying a stake in Bristol City, a second-division club. But if there is any chance of reopening talks about West Ham, this is exactly the moment Sullivan needs to act. He can no longer hold back a sale that could forever change the club's reality. Sullivan's age also weighs into this equation. He is 77 years old and can no longer handle the pressure coming from all sides on his own. The fans are against him. The press is against him. The numbers show a huge financial hole, and the results on the pitch only make the situation worse. Anywhere else in the world, this would be the ideal moment to pass the baton. And what the supporters demand is not just a change of ownership, but a change of mentality. West Ham has the potential to be much bigger than it is today. Former players and pundits have already publicly stated that the club could indeed compete for a Champions League spot if it had the right structure and investment. What's missing is not fans' history or passion. What's missing is ambitious and competent management. Meanwhile, the contrast with other Premier League clubs is only growing. Teams that not long ago were on the same level as West Ham have taken giant leaps thanks to foreign investment. Manchester City became a powerhouse with the Arabs. Newcastle turned into a contender at the top with the arrival of the Saudi fund. And West Ham? Still stuck in internal disputes, public spats, and results that leave supporters embarrassed. That's exactly what angers the supporters seeing rival clubs evolve, while West Ham keeps stumbling. The protests are not just against recent defeats, they are against the lack of vision for the future. The Olympic Stadium, which should have been a springboard to a new era, became a symbol of broken promises. The training ground, which should develop talent and attract players, is even mocked by those who wear the shirt. That's why when Qatar's name comes up as a possibility, the fans see a light at the end of the tunnel. It's not just about money. It's about the chance to put West Ham back on the European football map. An opportunity that once slipped away when Sullivan rejected Red Bull's offer, but that now could return even stronger. And here lies the final point of this discussion: Sullivan must do what is right. If he truly loves West Ham, he needs to think beyond his own pride and desire to hold on to control. Age is advancing, the pressure is unbearable, and the opportunities for growth are knocking at the door. The decision he makes now will define how he is remembered: as the man who trapped the club in a period of crisis, or as the one who even late opened the way for West Ham to soar much higher. Now, supporter, let's imagine together what could happen if the Qataris really poured serious money into West Ham. We all saw what happened with Manchester City. Before the arrival of the Arabs, it was a traditional club, but without major prominence. Suddenly, with investment in infrastructure, stadium squad, and marketing, it became a global powerhouse, winning the Premier League multiple times and eventually lifting the Champions League trophy. Newcastle is another example. As soon as the Saudi fund came in, the club went from the bottom half of the table to dreaming of the Champions League within just a few years. West Ham has everything it needs to follow the same path if it receives that level of investment. We're talking about a club with a huge, passionate fan base spread across the world. We're talking about London, one of the biggest stages on the planet, which naturally attracts sponsors. And we're talking about a modern stadium with a capacity of 60,000 capable of generating enormous revenue if properly utilized. The scenario is perfect for this leap. Of course, nobody expects West Ham to become European champions overnight. But with the right infrastructure, solid planning, and major signings, it's entirely possible to imagine the club consistently fighting at the top end of the Premier League and within a few years qualifying regularly for European competitions. That would completely change West Ham's status from being seen as just a mid-table side to becoming a true contender. And how would the fans react? They would, of course, embrace it wholeheartedly. West Ham supporters don't ask for luxury. They don't demand immediate titles. What they want is dignity, to see their club respected, to feel proud when wearing the shirt. They want to know there's a real project, that there's ambition, that someone is thinking big about the future. And that is exactly what Qatari investors can offer. Now, of course, there are also risks. When foreign investors take control, there's always the question of identity. Will the club lose its essence? Will the historic culture of the Hammers be respected? But if we look at recent examples like Newcastle fans show that when the team improves on the pitch and starts dreaming bigger, those fears move into the background. What supporters want is victory, progress, and respect. And that is exactly what West Ham could achieve if Sullivan steps aside and does what needs to be done. At 77 years old, he faces a decision that could define the club's entire future. Either he clings to control until the very end, keeping the team trapped in a cycle of crisis and decline, or he becomes the man who opened the door for West Ham to reach levels it never had before. This is a unique moment. The protests show that fans will not stop. The press has already turned against the board, the numbers don't add up, and the pressure grows with every defeat. But at the same time, there's the golden chance to attract one of the richest groups on the planet. It's one of those moments when history can change forever. So supporter, what will West Ham's future be? Will it remain stuck in this cycle of broken promises, or will it finally take the leap it so richly deserves? The ball is at Sullivan's feet, but as always, it's the fans who suffer the most. The same fans who have never abandoned the club. And that's all for today's West Ham news. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the like button, share it with fellow fans, and of course subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Come on, you Irons.